Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison had been staring at the same computer screens for 6 hours straight. The SETI headquarters was quiet except for the low hum of computers and the occasional beep from monitoring equipment. Jake rubbed his tired eyes and reached for his 5th cup of coffee. When everything changed, the radio telescope array suddenly came alive with activity. Numbers fluttered across his screen in a pattern that made his heart race. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. 13 prime numbers, but not random ones. They were coming from space, in perfect mathematical order. Like someone was deliberately trying to get attention. Jake nearly knocked over his coffee mug as he scrambled to alert his team. This was it. This was what they had been waiting for their entire careers after decades of listening to empty space. Someone was finally talking back. Meanwhile, thousands of light years away, an alien being named Vex was having a very different reaction to the same event. Vex worked for the Galactic Confederation as a communications specialist, and receiving signals from new worlds was just another day at the office. The paperwork was always the same, and this looked like another routine case. Vex pulled up the scan results from the 3rd planet orbiting a yellow star. The data looked perfectly normal for a developing world. There was plenty of water, which was always a good sign. The atmosphere had the right mix of gases to support carbon-based life. The temperature readings showed it was warm enough for liquid water but not too hot to kill everything. About this planet, screamed Garden. World 2 Vex Garden worlds were the best kind of planets to find. They were peaceful, stable places where gentle creatures evolved slowly and carefully. The beings on garden worlds usually spent their time growing plants, creating art, and thinking deep thoughts about the universe. They never fought wars or built dangerous weapons. They were exactly the kind of species the Galactic Confederation loved to welcome with open arms. Vex typed up the standard classification report without much thought. Another protected species request, another peaceful civilization, ready to join the galactic community under the careful guidance of older, wiser races. It was almost boring how predictable these garden world species were. The alien response package that Vex sent to Earth was full of warm, welcoming messages. The universal translator would help humans understand galactic languages. The basic citizenship guide explained how the Confederation worked and what benefits came with membership, but most of the message focused on protection and safety. The aliens wanted humans to know they would be safe in the galactic community. There were dangerous places in the universe called Deathworlds, but humans would never have to worry about such horrible places. The Confederation would make sure humans stayed far away from any planet with extreme weather, dangerous animals, or hostile conditions. After all, delicate garden world species needed to be protected from the harsh realities of the universe back on Earth. Jake watched in amazement as alien messages poured through his equipment. The translation software they had sent was incredible. Within hours, human scientists could read and understand every word the aliens had sent. The message was clear and friendly. Humanity had just been invited to join a vast galactic civilization, but as Jake read through the alien messages, something felt strange. The aliens kept talking about protection and safety. They seemed convinced that humans were fragile beings who needed to be sheltered from danger. They promised to keep humans away from any world that might be harmful or challenging. Looked out the window at the Earth. He knew this was a planet where humans climbed the tallest mountains for fun, where people dove to the bottom of the ocean just to see what was down there, where children played outside in weather that could kill them if they were not careful. Earth was not exactly the peaceful garden world the aliens seemed to think it was. As news of the alien contact spread around the world, one thing became clear: the aliens had made a very big mistake about what kind of species they were dealing with. Humanity was about to give them the surprise of their lives. Dr. Amanda Wells had never been more excited in her entire life. Just 3 days after the first alien contact, she was now leading humanity's first official response to an extraterrestrial civilization. The newly created Extraterrestrial Communications Division was buzzing with activity as scientists, linguists, and cultural experts worked together to create the perfect introduction Package Amanda looked around the room at her exhausted but determined team. They had been working non-stop for 72 hours, surviving on coffee and pure adrenaline. Everyone understood how important this moment was. This was humanity's chance to make a good first impression on the galactic stage. The team decided to be completely honest about who humans were and what Earth was like. They gathered detailed information about human biology, explaining how humans could run for hours without stopping, how they could survive in temperatures that ranged from freezing cold to scorching hot, and how they had spread to every corner of their planet. They included environmental data about Earth, proudly describing the incredible diversity of climates and landscapes that humans called home, from the burning deserts of Africa to the frozen wastelands of Antarctica. Humans had found ways to not just survive but actually thrive in conditions that most life forms would find impossible. The technology section was particularly impressive. Humans had split the atom and turned that power into both weapons and energy sources. They had built machines that could fly faster than sound, and submarines that could dive to the deepest parts of the ocean. Most exciting of all, they were already building rockets to carry humans to other worlds, using controlled explosions to push themselves through the vacuum of space. Amanda personally wrote the cultural section, highlighting humanity's greatest achievements. She described how humans had created art, music, and literature that captured both the beauty and the struggle of life on Earth. She explained how humans had developed philosophy and science through thousands of years of questioning, exploring, and refusing to accept simple answers. The message was sent with tremendous pride. Humanity was introducing itself as a species that had conquered their entire world through intelligence, determination, and an absolute refusal to give up in the face of any challenge. They were apex predators who had climbed to the top of the food chain, not through size or strength alone, but through cooperation, tool use, and an incredible ability to adapt to any environment. The response was broadcast across space with hope and excitement. Humanity was ready to take its place among the stars as an equal partner in the galactic community thousands of light years away. Senior analyst Crix was having the worst day of their very long career. The data package from the humans had arrived, and with each piece of information, Crix read, their 3 hearts beat faster and faster. The environmental readings had to be wrong. Nobody could live on a planet with gravity that strong. The oxygen levels were so high they would be toxic to most species. The temperature swings were extreme enough to kill most known life forms within minutes. The radiation from their star required the planet's inhabitants to have natural protection just to survive on the surface. But the humans were not just surviving these conditions, they were describing them as normal. They actually seemed to like their hostile world. They talked about their planet like it was a beautiful, wonderful place to live. Crix read the technology reports with growing horror. These humans had weapons that could destroy entire cities. They powered their civilization by splitting atoms, something most species considered far too dangerous to attempt. They were planning to spread to other worlds using rockets powered by controlled explosions, which sounded completely insane to any reasonable being. The cultural information was somehow even more disturbing. Human art celebrated struggle and conflict. Their music was about overcoming impossible odds and never giving up. Their stories were full of heroes who fought against terrible dangers and somehow won through determination and courage. Crix realized with growing panic that the Confederation had made a catastrophic mistake. They had not contacted a peaceful garden world species that needed protection. They had contacted something that had never existed before in known galactic history. Humans were not just survivors of a death's world. They were a species that had turned the most hostile environment imaginable into their home. They had not just adapted to impossible conditions, they had conquered them completely, and were now looking for new challenges among the stars. With shaking hands, Crix activated the emergency protocols and sent a priority message to the Confederation Council. The message was simple but terrifying. We have awakened the Deathworld species. May the universe help us all. The emergency alarm echoed through the Galactic Confederation. Headquarters for the first time in over 200 years, within hours. Representatives from 47 different civilizations were connecting to the most important emergency session. In galactic history, some appeared as floating energy beings, others as crystalline structures that communicated through color changes, and many looked like various combinations of familiar Earth animals, but with intelligence gleaming in their eyes. Council leader. This is a tall being with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors based on emotion. Was currently a deep purple shade that indicated extreme concern. Dices had led the Confederation for 30 years and had never seen anything like this situation. The council chamber, usually filled with calm discussion and peaceful debate, was buzzing with panic and confusion. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Dices began, their voice carrying the weight of absolute seriousness. We are facing something that our scientists believed was impossible. Our best xenobiologists have spent their entire careers studying how life develops across the universe. They all agree on one basic principle: intelligent life cannot evolve on a Class 12 death world. The conditions are simply too hostile, too dangerous, too unstable for complex thought to develop. The council members shifted nervously as Dices continued, yet somehow, impossible as it seems, the humans have not just survived on their death world, they have completely conquered it. They live on every continent, in every climate. From the hottest deserts to the coldest frozen wastelands, they swim in oceans that would dissolve most of our species, and climb mountains where the air is too thin for most beings to breathe. Military Coordinator Dren stepped forward to address the council. Dren belonged to a warrior species that had served as the Confederation's military for generations. But even these battle-hardened beings looked worried. The tactical analysis of human capabilities is deeply disturbing, Dren announced, pulling up holographic displays that showed human weapons and technology. Their primary weapons are based on nuclear fusion and chemical explosives. They have created devices that can destroy entire cities using the same power that fuels stars. They use controlled explosions for everything from mining to space travel. Most concerning of all, they appear to view warfare not as a last resort, but as a natural part of their existence. The holographic display showed images of human history, vast battles, complex strategies, weapons that grew more sophisticated with each passing century. They have contingency plans for asteroid impacts, solar flares, and complete planetary evacuation. They plan for disasters that would wipe out most civilizations and treat them as manageable problems with engineering solutions. Representative Quill from the Peaceful Harmony Coalition was visibly shaking as they spoke. The Peaceful Harmony Coalition represented over 20 species that had never experienced war or conflict. They had evolved on stable worlds where cooperation and sharing were the only ways to survive. Surely there must be some mistake, Quill said, their voice barely above a whisper. No intelligent being would choose to live in such horrible conditions if they had any other option. Perhaps we can help them, Quill continued, gaining confidence as they spoke. We could offer them beautiful garden worlds where they could live in peace, and safety worlds with gentle weather, abundant food, and no dangerous animals or natural disasters. Once they experience true peace and comfort, they will surely want to leave their terrible planet behind. Military Coordinator Dren's expression grew even grimmer as they responded. Intelligence reports indicate that humans are not seeking to escape their world. Instead, they are planning to colonize additional death worlds within their own star system. They have identified a frozen desert planet called Mars and are actively planning to establish permanent settlements there. The council fell completely silent as this information sank in. Most species in the galaxy, when they developed space travel, looked for worlds that were safer and more comfortable than their home planets. The idea of deliberately seeking out more dangerous worlds was completely alien to their way of thinking. Furthermore, Dren continued, humans appear to engage in dangerous activities for what they call fun or recreation. They jump off high places with only fabric wings to slow their fall. They climb dangerous mountains simply to say they reached the top. They race vehicles at speeds that would be fatal. If anything went wrong, they dive to crushing depths in their oceans just to explore. They call these activities extreme sports, and millions of humans participate willingly. The silence in the council chamber was deafening. Every representative was trying to process the implications of what they had learned. The galaxy had developed a careful system over millions of years. Peaceful species evolved on garden worlds, developed technology slowly and safely, and eventually joined the galactic community as protected junior members. Older, more established civilizations guided them gently into a universe of cooperation and mutual support, but humans represented something completely outside this system. They were a species that had evolved through constant struggle, survived by becoming the most dangerous predators on their planet, and were now looking to spread that same aggressive survival instinct to other worlds for the first time in galactic history. The Confederation faced a species that might be more dangerous than anything they were prepared to handle. Colonel Blake Thompson walked into the Extraterrestrial Communications Division with a heavy heart. The military had just assigned him to work directly with Dr. Amanda Wells and her diplomatic team. The news from space was not good. The aliens were getting more nervous about humanity every day, and Earth needed someone who understood both diplomacy and military strategy to help smooth things over. Blake had spent 20 years in the military, but he had also studied international relations and spoke 4 different languages. He understood that sometimes the best way to avoid a fight was to talk things through calmly and honestly. He hoped that combination of skills would help humanity navigate this increasingly complicated situation. Greeted Blake with obvious relief. She had been carrying the weight of humanity's first contact on her shoulders, and having someone with military experience join the team felt like much-needed support. Together, they sat down to figure out how to convince the galaxy that humans were not the dangerous monsters the aliens seemed to think they were. The problem is clear, Amanda explained as she showed Blake the latest alien communications. Every time we try to show them who we really are, they get more scared of us. They think we're some kind of violent species that only knows how to fight and destroy things. We need to show them our peaceful side, our capacity for beauty and cooperation. Blake nodded as he read through the alien messages. The fear in their communications was obvious. Even through the universal translator, these beings genuinely believed that humans were a threat to galactic peace and stability. It was like trying to convince someone that a tiger was actually a friendly house cat. The team decided to focus on humanity's greatest cultural achievements. They put together an incredible package of art, music, literature, and philosophy that represented the best of human civilization. They included paintings from every culture on Earth, music that ranged from gentle lullabies to powerful symphonies, and writings from humanity's greatest thinkers and poets they were particularly proud of, including human philosophy. Great thinkers throughout history had written about peace, love, cooperation, and the importance of working together to solve problems. Surely this would show the aliens that humans were capable of deep thought and peaceful intentions. But when the alien responses started coming back, Amanda and Blake realized they had made things much worse. The aliens were not seeing the beauty and peace that humans saw in their own culture. Instead, they were focusing on completely different aspects of the same works. Human music, even the most peaceful songs, often told stories about overcoming difficult times or finding strength during hardship. The aliens interpreted this as evidence that humans were constantly preparing for conflict. When humans sang about love conquering all, or never giving up, in the face of adversity, the aliens heard war songs and battle hymns. Human art was even more problematic. Humans found beauty in dramatic landscapes, powerful storms, and images of people facing challenges with courage and determination. To the aliens, these looked like celebrations of violence and danger. Even a simple painting of a mountain climber reaching a summit was seen as glorification of unnecessary risk-taking. Blake spent hours reviewing the alien responses with growing frustration. "They're completely missing the point," he told Amanda during one of their daily strategy meetings. When we tell them that millions of humans enjoy hiking, rock climbing, and scuba diving, they assume we're describing mandatory military training, exercises they can't understand, that we do these things because we enjoy them. The situation reached a breaking point during what should have been a routine diplomatic transmission. Amanda was trying to explain human education systems to show how humans valued learning and knowledge. She mentioned that human children learned about history, including studying past conflicts and wars, as well as basic survival skills like first aid and emergency preparedness. She also casually mentioned that children played games that involved competition and mock combat, thinking this would show how humans channeled aggressive impulses into harmless activities. Games like tag, capture the flag, and sports were just fun ways for kids to learn teamwork and strategy. The alien response was swift and alarming. Within hours, Earth received an official communication from the Galactic Confederation. The message was polite but firm. Humanity was being asked to remain within their solar system until the galaxy could figure out appropriate containment measures for a Deathworld. Species Blake and Amanda stared at the message in disbelief. In less than a week, humanity had gone from being welcomed as honored guests to being treated as a dangerous threat that needed to be contained. Every attempt to show their peaceful nature had somehow made things worse. We're approaching this all wrong, Blake realized as he read the containment request for the third time. We keep trying to convince them we're not dangerous by showing them things that prove we are dangerous to us. Climbing mountains is recreation to them. It's evidence that we're insanely reckless to us. Competitive sports teach valuable lessons to them. It's proof that we train our children for warfare. Amanda sank into her chair, feeling the weight of failure. So what do we do now? How do you convince someone you're peaceful when everything about your nature seems violent to them? Blake looked out the window at the world he loved, a world where humans had turned every challenge into an opportunity and every obstacle into an adventure. Maybe, he said quietly, we need to stop trying to convince them we're something we're not, and start showing them why what we are might actually be exactly what the galaxy needs. Commander Lisa Rodriguez was reviewing the latest diplomatic failures when the alarms started blaring throughout Earth's new military space command center. She had just been promoted to head humanity's first interstellar defense initiative, though. Up until this moment, it seemed like there might not be any interstellar relationships left to defend the urgent transmissions flooding in from space. Were unlike anything they had received before. These were not the careful, measured diplomatic messages that had been going back and forth for weeks. These were desperate emergency broadcasts, filled with panic and fear that came through clearly even with the universal translator. Emergency protocol activated across all Confederation territories. Came the first transmission. Unknown hostile forces have breached the Outer Rim defensive perimeter. Multiple star systems under attack. Civilian evacuation efforts failing. Military response insufficient. Lisa called Amanda and Blake to the command center immediately. Within minutes, they were all staring at tactical displays that showed a nightmare scenario unfolding across the galaxy. A massive fleet of unknown ships was systematically destroying everything in their path, consuming entire star systems and converting the matter into more ships. The attackers were identified as the Devourers, a machine intelligence that had appeared from outside the galaxy. Unlike biological species that fought for territory or resources, these machines seemed to exist only to consume and replicate. They turned planets into raw materials, stars into energy sources, and entire civilizations into nothing more than fuel for their endless expansion. The Galactic Confederation's defensive fleet was being systematically destroyed. Lisa studied the battle reports with growing horror. These were not battles in any traditional sense. The Confederation ships, designed primarily for peacekeeping and humanitarian missions, were being overwhelmed by an enemy that had no interest in negotiation or mercy. They're using completely predictable attack patterns, Lisa observed as she analyzed the enemy formations. Everything they do is based on mathematical optimization and computational efficiency. They have incredible firepower and numbers, but they show no creativity, no adaptation, no ability to think outside their programming. More desperate transmissions arrived every hour. The Devourers were not just destroying military targets, they were consuming everything. Civilian populations, cultural centers, entire planets with billions of inhabitants, species that had lived in peace for thousands of years, were being wiped out in days. Then came the transmission that changed everything. Despite their fear of humanity, despite their recent requests for containment measures, the Galactic Confederation was asking for help. The message was brief, but desperate, requesting immediate military assistance from all member species and allied forces. Threat level: galactic extinction. Event. Lisa looked at Amanda and Blake, and they all understood what this meant. The galaxy that had been afraid of humanity just days ago was now begging for the very qualities that had made them so nervous. They needed fighters, survivors, and people who could find solutions to impossible problems within 6 hours. Earth's response was launching into space. The fleet was a mixture of military vessels and hastily converted civilian ships. Many of the crew members had been planning Mars colonization missions and already knew how to survive in the harsh environment of space. They volunteered immediately when they learned the stakes. Captain Ryan Chen commanded the flagship, a converted exploration vessel that had been upgraded with Earth's most advanced weapons systems. His crew included veterans like Sergeant Patricia Santos, who had led Special Forces operations in some of Earth's most dangerous environments, and was now preparing to lead boarding parties in the vacuum of space. The alien observers watched in amazement as the human fleet approached the battle zone, while other species treated space combat as a careful, calculated affair conducted at safe distances. Humans immediately began using tactics that seemed completely insane to the galactic community. Human ships performed ramming maneuvers against enemy vessels, with crews surviving impacts that should have killed them. They launched boarding parties that fought hand-to-hand combat in hard vacuum. Wearing suits that other species considered inadequate protection, they used weapon systems that were so dangerous to operate that most civilizations had banned them as too risky for their own crews to handle. But most importantly, humans did something the Devourers had never encountered before. They adapted. When the machine intelligence tried to predict human behavior using mathematical models, the humans changed tactics. When the Devourers optimized their formations to counter human strategies, the humans found completely new approaches that the machines had not programmed responses forth. Tide of battle turned when human creativity met machine predictability. Humans treated the vacuum of space like just another hostile environment to conquer, the way their ancestors had conquered deserts, mountains, and ocean depths. Every impossible situation became a puzzle to solve. Every overwhelming threat became a challenge to overcome. The final Devourer ship was destroyed using a tactic that no sane military strategist would have approved. A human crew deliberately overloaded their ship's reactor and flew it directly into the enemy flagship, sacrificing themselves to save countless alien lives. As the smoke cleared and the galaxy began to count the cost of the invasion, the Galactic Confederation realized they had made a fundamental error in judgment. Humanity was not a threat to galactic peace. They were exactly what galactic peace had been missing: guardians who could face any danger and find a way to win. The formal apology arrived 3 days later, along with an unprecedented offer. The Galactic Confederation wanted humanity to serve as their primary defense force, protecting the peaceful species that had never learned to fight for themselves. Humanity had finally found their place in the galaxy, not as students who needed protection, but as teachers who could show others that no challenge was impossible to overcome.